Be me a non-average guy, give or take 30. Make a living handling client accounts for a mid-tier supplier of niche industrial hardware. Nothing flashy about it. We move precision parts, pressure systems, and technical components most people couldn't identify if their life depended on it. It's the invisible infrastructure type of business. Factories rely on it, but nobody brags about it. Compensation's fair, workflow predictable, and leadership keeps expectations simple. Perform. For anonymity's sake, I'll just call my manager the boss. Career engineer, climbed from the shop floor to the corner office. His worldview revolves around margins, renewals, and supply chains that don't break. As long as revenue stays healthy and customers don't complain, he doesn't micromanage. If they're not, he'll be at your desk asking why. Simple as that. Our office is about 80% male. Not by design, it's just the nature of the industry. Most of us are either engineers, sales guys, or logistics people. The atmosphere is pretty chill. We bust each other's chops, talk about sports, complain about the coffee. Communication is direct, no fluff. Hey, got that invoice for order number 743? Yeah, sending it now. That's a whole conversation for us. It's efficient. It works. For years, our HR department was basically one guy named Frank. Frank was a 60-year-old dude who was 2 years away from retirement and had mentally checked out a decade ago. His main job was processing payroll, handling insurance paperwork, and making sure nobody burned the building down. He worked out of a small office in the back that always smelled faintly of stale coffee and sawdust for some reason. Frank's approach to HR was, don't cause problems. If you had an issue, his first question was always, can you two work it out yourselves? He saw his role as a necessary evil, a bureaucratic cog in a machine that was otherwise running fine. We liked Frank. He left us alone. Then, one day, we get a company-wide email. Frank was finally retiring. There was a small party for him, with a sheet cake and some lukewarm punch. He gave a 2-minute speech, said he was looking forward to fishing, and then he was gone. For a couple of months, we had no HR. It was glorious. Everything ran exactly the same, maybe even a little smoother. But the boss said corporate required the position to be filled. He mentioned they were looking for someone new and dynamic to modernize our internal processes. That should have been the first red flag. A few weeks later, another company-wide email. Please welcome our new head of human resources, Sienna. The email had a picture attached. She looked exactly like you'd expect. Young, maybe mid-20s, with that specific brand of bright-eyed, almost aggressive optimism. The kind of smile that doesn't quite reach the eyes. Her bio was a masterclass in corporate buzzwords. Talked about fostering a culture of inclusivity, championing diversity, and building synergistic workplace paradigms. I had to look up what a paradigm was. The guys and I passed the email around in our chat group with a bunch of skull emojis. Our blissful, problem-free existence was about to end. We could feel it. Her first day, you could tell a new sheriff was in town. She didn't just go to her office. She did a listening tour. Walked around the entire office with a brand new notepad and a pen, introducing herself to everyone. She had this way of talking to you, where it felt less like a conversation and more like an evaluation. She'd ask you about your role, nod thoughtfully, and then write something down in her notepad without breaking eye contact. It was incredibly unnerving. She got to my desk. Hi, you must be Anon. I'm Sienna. I'm just so excited to learn about everyone's contributions to the team. I told her what I did, managing client accounts. Her eyes lit up. Oh, client-facing. That's such a crucial intersection for our company's values. I just nodded. What the hell do you even say to that? She scribbled something in her notepad. I'm really passionate about ensuring our external communications reflect our internal commitment to a safe and progressive environment. Another nod from me. Okay. Well, welcome to the company. She gave me that same smile again and moved on to the next desk. The whole office was on edge for the first week. She was like a predator stalking the herd, just watching. We'd see her standing by the coffee machine, not getting coffee, just observing how people interacted. She'd sit in on meetings she wasn't invited to, sitting in the back corner, just writing in her notepad. The office banter died down. The jokes stopped. Everyone started talking in that careful, sanitized way you do when you know you're being monitored. After about 2 weeks of this silent observation, the emails started. The first one was innocent enough. Team, a friendly reminder to please clean up after yourselves in the break room. A clean space is a happy space. Okay, fair enough. Someone left a dirty mug in the sink, but the tone was off, condescending. A week later, another one. Hi, colleagues. I've noticed some items in the refrigerator are past their expiration date. Please be mindful of your food items. We're a community, and we need to respect our shared spaces. Again, not a huge deal, but it felt like we were being managed by a passive-aggressive dorm, RA. Then came the surveys. Anonymous Workplace Satisfaction Survey. Except everyone knew it wasn't anonymous. The link was clearly trackable. The questions were all leading. On a scale of 1 to 5, do you feel our company's leadership fosters an environment of psychological safety? How often have you witnessed communication that could be perceived as non-inclusive? Do you feel there are barriers to advancement for underrepresented groups in our workplace? It was obvious what kind of answers she was looking for. We all just put 3 for everything and hoped that would be the end of it. It was not the end of it. It was the justification for the beginning of the end. About a month into her tenure, we all got a mandatory meeting invitation. Subject: Workshop: Building a More Inclusive Communication Strategy. It was scheduled for a Friday afternoon, the time slot usually reserved for finishing up reports and getting ready for the weekend. Morale was already at an all-time low. We all filed into the main conference room. Sienna was standing at the front next to a projector screen. She was wearing a blazer and looked incredibly serious. "Thank you all for coming," she began. "I know you're all busy, but the work we're about to do here is fundamental to our growth, not just as a company, but as people." I exchanged a look with Dave, the guy from logistics. He looked like he wanted to be anywhere else on Earth. She clicked to the first slide of her presentation. It was a stock photo of a group of diverse people laughing over a laptop. The title was "The Power of Words: Fostering Belonging." For the next 45 minutes, she gave us a lecture. It was a fire hose of buzzwords and academic jargon that had absolutely nothing to do with selling industrial valves. She talked about unconscious bias, problematic language, and the perpetuation of systemic power structures through everyday speech. She claimed that our office, based on her preliminary cultural audit, the creepy lurking and the survey, had a communication problem. According to her, our direct, no-nonsense way of talking was a symptom of ingrained male toxicity. She said that casual phrases we used were actually microaggressions that could make people feel excluded. She put up a slide with a list of problematic phrases. On the list were things like, "Hey guys," "Yeah man," and "Long time, no see." I'm not even kidding. "Long time no see" was apparently offensive to the visually impaired. The room was dead silent. You could hear the air conditioning unit humming. Nobody wanted to be the first to speak. Then she got to the main point of the meeting. To address these systemic issues, she announced, we will be implementing a new, mandatory company-wide email communication policy, effective immediately. She clicked to the next slide. Rule number 1. All employees must add their personal pronouns to their email signature. For example, she/her, he/him, they/them. She said this was to normalize the practice and create a safe space for our non-binary colleagues. We didn't have any non-binary colleagues. There were 50 of us. We all knew each other. Rule number 2. All gendered or potentially exclusionary greetings are hereby banned. This included gentlemen, ladies, hi guys, etc. Rule number 3. All emails must now begin with one of the approved inclusive greetings. Hello team, greetings all, or hi colleagues. She looked out at the room of stone-faced men, beaming as if she'd just solved world hunger. This will ensure our communications are professional, respectful, and reflective of our forward-thinking values, she concluded. She then asked if there were any questions. For a solid 30 seconds, nobody said a thing. We were all just processing the sheer stupidity of it all. Then, Dave from Logistics, a brave soul, raised his hand. Dave is a good guy, a bit older, been with the company for 20 years. He's as straightforward as they come. Sienna called on him a little too eagerly. Yes, David? Dave stood up. Sienna, I deal with our shipping partners and warehouse foremen all day. These are guys who work on a loading dock. If I send an email that starts with greetings colleagues and has he/him in the signature, they're going to think I've lost my mind. It's going to hurt our relationships. They're not going to take us seriously. It was a perfectly reasonable, logical point based on decades of experience in the industry. Sienna's smile became tight and forced. "Thank you for that perspective, David," she said, in a tone that clearly meant, "Thank you for being a perfect example of the problem." "I understand that change can be uncomfortable," she continued, "but sometimes it's our responsibility to lead the way and educate our external partners. By modeling inclusive behavior, we can help normalize it across the entire industry. This isn't just about our internal culture. It's about being a leader for positive social change." She had completely ignored his point and replaced it with a meaningless corporate platitude. She was basically telling a 20-year veteran of the industry that he needed to educate truck drivers on pronoun usage. Dave just slowly sat back down, a look of pure defeat on his face. He knew he'd lost. Nobody else asked any questions. What was the point? The meeting ended. We all filed out in silence. Back at our desks, the private chat lit up. "You've got to be kidding me. Is she for real? My pronouns are about to be kiss/my/ass." It was funny, but underneath it was a real sense of frustration. This was our job, our livelihood, and it was being interfered with by someone who lived in a completely different reality, someone who cared more about abstract theories than about the practical business of keeping the lights on. The boss wasn't at the meeting. He was out visiting a client site. We all wondered what he'd think, but our hopes were dashed when an email from Sienna landed in our inboxes an hour later. Subject: Policy Reminder, New Email Communication Standards. It recapped all the rules she had laid out. And at the bottom, it said, "This policy has been fully approved by senior management and is mandatory for all staff." She'd gotten the boss to sign off on it. He probably didn't even read it, just saw communications policy, figured it was standard HR stuff, and gave it the okay. He was focused on the big picture, the numbers. He trusted his department heads to manage the details. That trust was about to be a very, very big mistake. So we did what any sane person in our position would do. We complied. It was a classic case of malicious compliance. Within an hour, everyone's email signature was updated. John Smith, Sales Director, he/him. David Jones, Logistics Coordinator, he/him. Anon, Account Manager, he/him. Our emails became a joke. "Greetings team, does anyone have a spare stapler? Regards, Anon, he/him. Hi colleagues, the coffee machine is out of filters. Thanks Dave, he/him. It felt ridiculous. We were all grown men, professionals, and we were being forced to communicate like we were in a campus club. The first few days were just internal emails, so it was contained within our own circus. We'd get on a call with each other and immediately start with, "Hey man, forget that email formality, I just needed to ask." But we all knew it was only a matter of time before this new policy had to face the real world. It had to face our clients. My portfolio of clients is pretty diverse. Some are modern tech companies, others are small, family-owned businesses. And then there are the big ones, the old-school industrial giants. My biggest account, by far, was a manufacturing firm based in the Midwest. They made heavy-duty components for the oil and gas industry. They were our single largest source of revenue. Losing them would be catastrophic. The owner of the company was my main point of contact. Let's call him the client. The client was in his late 60s, built the company from the ground up with his own two hands. He was a straight-talking, no-nonsense guy. He valued reliability, honesty, and getting the job done right. He had zero patience for corporate BS. We had a great working relationship. We'd known each other for years. Our emails were always simple and to the point. "Anon, need a quote on 500 units of part number X27. Need it by EOD/TC/TC, quote attached. Let me know if you need anything else." Anon, we had a system. It was built on years of mutual respect and efficient communication. Sienna's new policy was about to drop a nuclear bomb on that system. A couple of weeks after the policy went into effect, I got an email from the client. It was a big one, an urgent request for a massive new order. This was a huge deal, potentially one of the biggest orders of the year. I had to coordinate with engineering, logistics, and pricing to get him a proposal as fast as possible. I spent the whole morning working on it, putting together all the details. Finally, I had the proposal ready to go. I attached the PDF to a new email. And then I paused. I stared at the blank email body. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. My brain knew what to type. TC, here's the proposal we discussed. Let me know your thoughts. But Sienna's smiling, condescending face flashed in my mind. This policy is mandatory for all staff. It's our responsibility to lead the way and educate our partners. I looked at my email signature, already set up with the idiotic he/him. This felt so wrong. It was like walking into this guy's gritty, oil-stained factory office wearing a clown nose. But what could I do? If I didn't follow the policy and someone found out, I could be reported to HR. Sienna was clearly on a power trip. Who knows what she'd do? I was stuck between a rock and a hard place. Risk my relationship with my biggest client, or risk getting a formal reprimand from the new HR commissar. So I did what most people would do. I chose to protect my job. I typed the most sterile, soulless email of my entire career. Greetings, client's name. Please find the attached proposal for your review per your request. We are confident it meets the specifications discussed. Please let us know if you have any questions. Regards, Anon, account manager, he/him. I read it over 3 times. It sounded like it was written by a robot. It was impersonal, cold, and reeked of the kind of corporate nonsense that the client openly despised. My stomach was in a knot. I took a deep breath and clicked send. The email shot off into the ether. I felt like I had just pulled the pin on a grenade and rolled it into my own career. All I could do now was wait for it to explode. I sat there, staring at my sent folder. The email was gone. There was no unsending it. For a minute, nothing happened. The office continued its low hum. Phones rang, keyboards clicked. It was the calm before the storm. I tried to focus on other work. I had other clients, other tasks. But my eyes kept flicking to the corner of my screen, to my inbox icon. Waiting. Every notification sound made my heart jump into my throat. Was it him? A new email arrived. It was just a weekly sales report. Another one. A spam message about a webinar. I felt like a soldier in a trench, waiting for an artillery shell to land. You hear the whistle, but you don't know where it's going to hit. An hour passed. It felt like a lifetime. Maybe he's busy, I thought. Maybe he'll see it, think it's weird, but just focus on the proposal and ignore the rest. Maybe I was overthinking it. People are reasonable. He's a businessman. He cares about the numbers, not the email format. I almost managed to convince myself that it would all be fine. And then it came. A new email, the sender, the client. My blood ran cold. The subject line was just, re-proposal. I clicked on it with a sense of impending doom. The body of the email was short, 2 sentences. What is this? Is this some kind of joke? I'm not sure what he/him has to do with a parts order. It wasn't angry, not yet. It was confused. A dog tilting its head at a strange noise. But it was the kind of confusion that quickly turns into irritation. Okay, breathe. I had to respond. I couldn't just say, "Our new HR lady is a lunatic. Please ignore it." I was a representative of the company. I had to toe the line. I typed out a careful diplomatic response. Greetings, client's name. Apologies for any confusion. It is a new company-wide policy to include pronouns in our email signatures as part of a professional standards update. The attached proposal is ready for your review. Please let me know if you have any questions about its contents. I tried to make it sound as boring and bureaucratic as possible, hoping he'd just roll his eyes and move on. I hit send. The response this time was much faster. Maybe 2 minutes. My inbox pinged again. Same sender. His tone had shifted. The confusion was gone. Now it was annoyance. A professional standards update? Anon, I've been doing business with you for almost a decade. Your standard was delivering good products on time, and my standard was paying you for them. It was a simple, effective arrangement. When did you guys get into the business of social messaging? I'm trying to run a factory here, not a university seminar. Just tell me you can get the parts and stop with this corporate nonsense. This was bad, very bad. He wasn't just annoyed by the format anymore. He was questioning our company's entire focus. He saw the stupid signature as a symptom of a deeper problem, a sign that we'd lost our way, that we were no longer the serious, reliable partner he'd known for years. My hands were shaking slightly. How do I respond to this? If I defend the policy, I alienate him completely. If I agree with him, I'm undermining my own company and could get in serious trouble. Sienna had put me in an impossible position. She had created a conflict where none existed, forcing me to choose between my client and my job. While I was trying to figure out what to do, the decision was taken out of my hands. From across the office, I saw the light on the boss's desk phone start flashing. He was in his office, a glass-walled cube in the corner, reviewing some spreadsheets. He picked up the receiver, looking slightly annoyed at the interruption. "This is the boss's name," he said. His expression immediately changed. He went from relaxed to alert in a split second. He sat up straighter in his chair. He listened intently, his eyes fixed on a point on his desk. The whole office operates on a kind of ambient noise level. You get used to the sounds, but when a pin drops, you notice. This was a pin drop moment. The boss wasn't saying much, just short, sharp interjections. "I see." A long pause while he listened. "Yes, I'm looking at the email chain now." He started typing on his keyboard. He was pulling up my exchange with the client. My heart hammered against my ribs. "I understand completely." Another long pause. His face was like stone. "No, you're absolutely right. It is unprofessional." He winced slightly at that, as if the words physically hurt him. Hearing a client call his company unprofessional was like a personal insult. "Let me be clear. This is not how we do business. This is not our standard." He listened for another moment. "I will take care of this, personally, right now. I give you my word. You have my sincere apologies." He nodded. "Thank you for bringing this to my attention directly. I appreciate it." He hung up the phone. He didn't slam it down. He placed it back in the cradle with a slow, deliberate precision that was far more terrifying than any outburst. He sat there for a moment, just staring at his computer screen. Then he pushed his chair back, the sound scraping loudly in the now silent office. He stood up. Everyone in the office was pretending not to watch, but everyone was watching. People were typing on their keyboards without actually hitting any keys, staring intently at documents they weren't reading. The boss walked out of his office. He didn't look at me. He didn't look at anyone. His eyes were locked on one destination at the far end of the office, Sienna's desk. He walked with a purpose I had never seen before. It wasn't a casual stroll. It was a march. Every step echoed on the industrial-grade carpet. He walked past my desk, past the sales guys, past logistics. With every step, the tension in the room ratcheted up another notch. We were all holding our breath. Sienna was at her desk, typing away, probably composing another friendly reminder about recycling or something. She was completely oblivious. She looked up as he approached, a bright, slightly confused smile on her face, as if she was expecting a routine question. "Hi," boss's name. "What can I do for—" He cut her off. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. His tone was low, cold, and carried across the entire office. "Sienna," he said, stopping directly in front of her desk. "I just got off the phone with the client." Her smile faltered. "Oh, I hope everything is all right." "No," the boss said flatly. "Everything is not all right." He held up a hand to stop her from speaking again. He called to inform me that he is strongly considering pulling his account, an account that is worth over $500,000 in revenue to this company every year. You could see the color drain from Sienna's face. "What? Why? Was there a problem with the proposal?" she stammered. "The proposal was fine," the boss said, his voice dripping with ice. "The problem was the email it was attached to. The problem was that my best account manager was forced to communicate with our most important client like he was sending an invitation to a potluck at a community center." She was starting to understand. Her eyes darted around the office, realizing everyone was listening. "He wanted to know," the boss continued, his voice getting a little louder, "if we had been taken over by a committee of children. His words, not mine. He said he doesn't trust a company that's more focused on virtue signaling than on manufacturing deadlines." Sienna's professionalism completely crumbled. She looked like she was about to cry. But the policy. "It's about inclusion. It's about making people feel safe and respected. It's standard practice in modern companies. This was the moment of truth, the collision of two completely different worlds, her world of theories, buzzwords, and feelings, his world of payroll, profit, and loss, and keeping the damn doors open. The boss leaned forward slightly, placing his hands on her desk. "I'll tell you what's not standard practice, Sienna," he said, his voice dangerously quiet. "Losing our biggest client is not standard practice. Jeopardizing the jobs of the 50 people in this building is not standard practice. Your feelings about inclusion do not pay our bills. The client's $500,000 contract does. Do you understand?" She just stared at him, speechless. "This policy of yours is over. Done. As of this second," he commanded. "You are going to type up an email to all staff. You are going to tell them that the new email communication standards have been officially and permanently rescinded, effective immediately. You will state that all previous guidelines are no longer in effect. You will keep it short, professional, and you will not use the word inclusive a single time." He stood up straight. "And you're going to send me a draft of that email before you send it to anyone else. I want to see it in my inbox in the next 5 minutes." He didn't wait for a response. He just turned around and walked back to his office, the same determined stride as before. The entire office was in a state of suspended animation. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. We all just stared at Sienna. She was frozen for a moment, her face a mixture of shock, humiliation, and disbelief. She had just been publicly and systematically dismantled in front of the very people she was trying to educate. Her grand vision of a corporate utopia had just been obliterated by the harsh reality of a balance sheet. Slowly, shakily, she turned to her computer. Her fingers trembled as she started to type. It was the most beautiful sound I had ever heard. Less than 5 minutes later, an email from the boss popped up in my inbox. It was a forwarded message from Sienna. The draft. Underneath it, the boss had just written one word: approved. A minute after that, the official email from Sienna arrived for all staff. Subject: update regarding email communication policy. Hello team, please be advised that the email communication policy implemented on date has been rescinded. The guidelines regarding email signatures and greetings are no longer in effect. Regards, Sienna. That was it. It was a white flag, a total surrender. A quiet cheer went up from the sales department corner. Someone else let out a low whistle. It was like a spell had been broken. I looked at my email signature. I immediately deleted the he/him. It felt like taking off a pair of shoes that were 2 sizes too small. I had a job to do. I had to save the account. I opened a new email to the client. I went back to basics, back to what worked. TC, I wrote. My apologies for the earlier communication. We had a brief internal policy update that has since been reversed. It won't happen again. The proposal is solid. We can meet your timeline. Let me know if you want to proceed. Anon? I hit send. 3 minutes later, he replied. Good. Glad to hear you're back to your senses. The proposal looks good. Send the contract over. TC. I leaned back in my chair and let out a breath I didn't even realize I'd been holding. It was over. The crisis was averted. The rest of the day, the office was buzzing. The old energy was back. People were joking again. The cloud of corporate sanctimony had lifted. Someone walked by my desk and said, Hey man, nice work saving the company. I just gave him a nod. Sienna didn't leave her desk for the rest of the day. She didn't take a lunch break. She just sat there, staring at her screen, doing what looked like the most basic data entry. Her grand crusade was over. She had flown too close to the sun, and the sun, in this case, was a pissed-off client with a big checkbook. In the following weeks, things returned to normal. Better than normal, actually. Sienna was still there, but she was a ghost. All her initiatives were canceled. No more workshops, no more surveys. She just did her payroll and benefits paperwork. She became the new Frank, but without the quiet dignity. She was a living monument to what happens when ideology collides with reality. Reality always wins. Sometimes all it takes is one regular guy, one common-sense client, and one boss who cares more about his business than about buzzwords to put things right. And we all went back to selling valves. And it was good.